move forward. But not coming from the government per se, but the premier. It's coming from the health sector. Holy Christ! I just swallowed a bee. Holy Christ! I knew that little bugger. Oh.
Drown him.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. So today we're going to be talking about Charlie Angus and his little meltdown that he had because he's retiring. He is the representative of my riding. He is so embarrassing. And then we're going to talk about Doug Ford's Ontario secured majority government. Okay, let's get into it.
Fuck off, Putin troll.
Putin troll. Nothing to do with Putin.
Yes, you do. If you don't stand with Ukraine, then you're a fascist.
Okay.
So don't waste time talking.
Do you think it's
This is the first time I'm watching this.
Threaten to take away
He told someone to fuck off.
Citizenship because you don't agree with their political leaning.
Yeah, I know you got.
Do you think that's appropriate?
And just to give proper context.
So you support the violent Antifa mobs in Ottawa? I have been the victim of violence from them. I was jumped.
You're a moron.
Because I'm a moron. So you're saying I deserve the violence from
No, I think you're
Antifa?
a
I was
Putin
jumped,
troll.
robbed, and beaten.
Ooh, you're a Putin troll.
I was jumped, robbed, and
Fuck
beaten in a
off,
park.
Putin troll. Fuck off,
Do you think
Putin
that's
troll.
appropriate
Fuck off,
comment?
Putin troll. Yeah, you stand outside the Russian embassy and
I
repeat
came here
Putin's talking
specifically to
point.
see you.
Fuck off,
I came
Putin
here for
troll.
you.
So obviously I just watched Elevate podcasts cover that and I am in shock. First of all, this man represents Northern Ontario where there is a literal Yahtzee. Do you think Charlie Angus has done anything to ensure the departure? If he says that he stands with, he stands against fascists and Yahtzees, why have you not done anything to make sure that the one that is over here from Poland that was, honored in the House of Commons actually gets extradited? Oh wait, extradited back to Poland. Yeah. Charlie Angus is literally a festering wart on the giant foot of Northern Ontario, okay? He is retiring and he is doing nothing but drag our fucking community through the mud. What is wrong with him? I genuinely do not understand where he thinks he gets off wanting to cut the deal with Starlink, which gives his riding thousands of people of internet, like gives so many people access to internet that never had access to it before. I didn't realize how much we used gas and oil until I moved to Northern Ontario. So tell me why this is the man that's telling us that we shouldn't be promoting it. Is he actually dense? He grew up in Cobalt, Ontario. Tell me, Charlie Angus, tell me how you would be able to even use an electric vehicle there because you failed the area so much that there's not even a gas station or charging anything. There's no place to charge electric vehicles except for at the hotels. That's where you can charge electric vehicles in Northern Ontario because that's usually the only people that have them. Oh my God. It genuinely... Charlie Angus, we need to have an election immediately. This is so embarrassing for Northern Ontario, and the way that he continues to do this after being a retired official. If I were in Northern Ontario, which I am and which I will, be calling his office today and complaining about this language. This is a fucking absurd. I have emailed him and he told me that I should be on a watch list, went to the fucking House of Commons, and I don't say things that would get me arrested. Went to the House of Commons the next Monday and said that there should be a watch list for far-right content creators and people who send threatening letters. Threatening letters? Stop being such an idiot. This is democracy. Like, we need a federal election so badly, and that's why yesterday I was so hesitant to go and vote. But I did, because people like Charlie Angus, I hate representing me in Northern Ontario, despite having another NDP win for our MPP riding yesterday. Thus, we are going to talk about why Doug Ford won that election last night, okay? Because genuinely, not a lot of people in my spaces enjoy Doug Ford. Not a lot of people on the left, actually no one on the left enjoys Doug Ford. And if you were on, this is exactly the type of shit that I'm talking about when I say that when you go on TikTok, there's going to be so many people who are being fed into your feed to make a message seem like it might be something that it's not. So all of the young people who hate Doug Ford so much, who are on TikTok the last few weeks trying to get Doug Ford, you know, unelected and stuff, they're loud, but you know, Doug Ford's louder, I guess. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I voted Doug Ford. And a personal reason why I voted Doug Ford is because our province is already in shambles. I can't imagine it getting worse with the Liberals and the NDP, which it would. Okay? The unions, school boards, healthcare systems have a chokehold. Here, let's look up who actually runs the hospitals in Canada. So it says provincial and territorial government, and then the federal government is responsible for setting and administering national standards for the healthcare system, provides funding, support for provincial and territorial health services. And then, because I have no idea what Doug Ford can even do when it comes to in Ontario, when it comes to things like education and healthcare. Okay. Because I think that the unions in the boards of these places, like hospital CEO boards, unions, all of these things have way more say in our day-to-day, in our day-to-day operations of these places than Doug Ford does. Okay. Because, and like I've said before, we need someone to come in federally and say no more DEI in our school systems. Nowhere, if you're getting federal funding in the slightest, no more DEI. Go back to following the principles, the equity, whatever, the principles of ethics. That's what it is. And DEI is not actually standing up for diversity, equity, inclusion. As I mentioned yesterday in my video yesterday, it is actually just to make places look good on paper. And when we see years later of the not Every Child Matters, the No Child Left Behind, and like I said, very much children are being left behind, we need to go back to the drawing board. And truly, I could not imagine if we had the NDP and Liberals come in and our schools get worse than they already are. We already have gendered closets at our schools, okay? Even with a conservative government in, I cannot imagine what would happen if it was fully Liberal or NDP, okay? Also, this eye is really red. I better not be getting pink eye. I routinely get pink eye since getting my 2 you-know-whats. There also needs to be a federal law that says no place can implement a mandate for the C-19 you-know-what. And that's actually my biggest problem with Doug, is the fact that the nurses and doctors haven't been hired back. They need to be suing the Ontario government, quite frankly, because we have doctors in our community that literally do not have jobs because of those mandates, and they deserve their jobs back because our communities deserve our doctors. Okay? So let me tell you why I think that Doug Ford has a grip on this Ontario, okay? First of all, the Fords are very personable. They will actually speak to you. And I find that is why conservatives continue to win. And I think that Liberals and NDP win because they have young voters and they have voters that they can convince propaganda to. And I do believe that conservatives get so many votes because they are so personable. They will talk to you. They will come to your work and actually look you in the eyes and hear your story and stuff like that. They will actually talk to you like you're a fucking human. I have never seen Justin Trudeau actually have a conversation the way that I've seen Doug Ford have a conversation with someone, or even Pierre Poilievre have a conversation with someone. I have been watching these candidates for years, okay? And that includes all of them, federally, provincially. The reason that conservatives continue to win, I truly believe, especially in Ontario, is Doug's likability and he's personable, okay? And so not only is Doug Ford very personable and has things like the Ford Fest and stuff like that, but I truly believe that the Liberals have left such a bad taste in everyone's mouths that even provincially, they are losing more and more seats. And then we obviously have the bad taste in our mouths from Kathleen Wynne and Bob Ray, you know, being in at the same time as Carla Homolka getting that deal. And then we have Kathleen Wynne sellout, but selling us out to Hydro One and making some of our hydro bills way over $700 a month. Yeah, that happened to me one time when Kathleen Wynne was in. Despite me having exactly what they would want someone to have for hydro, I believe they want people to have baseboard heaters. Despite having that, my bill was still $700. She also got rid of the Siemens plant in Tillsonburg, Ontario, because she wanted to score points, but that makes no sense. Why would you guys, if you guys know that you wanted to rely on windmills, why would you shut that down? So many people, including my husband, lost his job. And she did that for brownie points to win that election. She got rid of jobs to make people happy because people didn't like the windmills thing, to gain some points in the polls. And you know what? It didn't even work, and my husband still lost his job, and so did she. And I also think that people might have voted Doug because voted conservative because we think about, who would we want Pierre to work with the most? Doug Ford or Bonnie Crombie or Merritt Stiles? I'm going with Doug Ford, okay? Like, we need to get shit done. And for now, that, there's so many things affecting healthcare and schooling, and the left really doesn't realize that mass immigration it's definitely going to have an impact on our hospitals. And like I said before, obviously Doug should say no to letting so many people in Ontario when he knows we have a homelessness crisis and stuff going on. But it's ultimately the federal government's problem to guard the borders. And invites people. They send out messaging like, all is welcome in Canada, come over. And then we have so many people, like Doug Ford can agree to so many, and I can disagree with Doug Ford there, but he can't help it when our borders are just letting in everybody and anybody federally. You know what I'm saying? And it really could only get worse from there if we had an NDP or Liberal in. So the fact that people are voting for somebody to make sure that other people don't get in, and that's essentially what the left was doing. I don't even think the left liked their candidates that much. They were just doing it to vote out Doug Ford. They don't really see the bigger picture in Canada, which is that DEI programs are ruining our hospitals more than Doug Ford is, okay? We need a full audit on our education and healthcare. Where is all of the money going? We deserve to know because we are the ones paying that as taxpayers. We need a breakdown of who's in charge of what, and who's in charge of why these systems are so shitty. Ultimately, it's the federal government and then the provincial government and then the, unions and the hospital CEOs and boards and all of those different things. They should all be equally as in trouble as the other ones, okay, for the destruction of our social services. And instead of taking their time to crap on conservatives, how about unions actually stop being partisan and work with conservatives the best that they can? If people are wondering why Doug Ford got voted in, I think you guys need to really take a step back and really realize that that is how much people don't like Liberals or NDP right now. And I will say that I think it was 53% of our province got out there and voted yesterday. I was almost not going to vote, and then I was like, you are literally a political commentator sometimes, and you need to go and vote. I have never not voted in my life, except for when my grandma was dying during the last federal election. And I guess I missed the June 2022 one. I will say I was ripe in grief and we were moving up north, so that might have been why I didn't vote. But I didn't even realize that we had a provincial election in 2022. And I know where our council people live, and I kept it in my mind of who had a conservative sign up and who had an NDP sign up. Just, for further future elections. Good to know the people who are putting up my property taxes that much are NDP supporters, Ontario's already shit, but I will say Doug has done a few good things, okay? I am not somebody, because I can be nonpartisan about things, like I Ooh, do I think it was a good idea for Justin Trudeau to make weed legal? Yes, but I think that government weed is actually making people dumber. And I personally, they have this thing called CBG, and it really helps with my gastrointestinal problems. Like, that's what it's for. And that is a miracle. I'm telling you guys, it actually makes me want to cry when I think about how much it lets me live my life. And smoking sometimes with Crohn's really helps me have appetite, and it has really helped. But at the same time, you just know that the government is screwing with our weed. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what the regulations are like? They didn't put any regulations federally. It was all left up to the provinces. So while I can say that, yes, I think Justin Trudeau, legalizing weed was a good thing, there was obviously problems with it. And I guess he approved of a couple of pipelines, which I had no idea that he did, but I digress. So some of the good things that Doug has done, first of all, I'm pretty sure prescriptions are free for everyone under 25. Yesterday I took my child to get an eye test, and mine wasn't free, but my child's was, thanks to the Ford government. Northern Ontario Highway 11 is a death trap, but over the last 2 years, the MTO, at the behest of a demand from Doug Ford, has been checking trucks more regularly, really helping us. We have seen a significant decline in the amount of deaths and accidents. It's still happening, but thanks to him, things are getting a lot safer up in Northern Ontario that way. And he's connected Northern and Southern Ontario with a bus. Like, he is doing some good things, okay? However, our healthcare is abysmal. Our schools need to go back to being non-woke, and I don't know how much he has control over that, or even if he knows, because like I said, they implement it on PA days. So when you look at the curriculum, you're not going to see all of the woke stuff that they implement because it's not there. It's being implemented. And then something like Black History Month will come up, and that's when they take that opportunity to use that, But it's still no excuse. It still needs to be fixed. It still needs to be worked on. I truly believe that when our provinces were following those mandates, it was because our federal public health was telling them to do that. However, I still think that, he should be trying very hard to make sure that our doctors and nurses get hired back. And it's just ridiculous that we didn't have a single candidate doing that. He also needs to acknowledge that he helped implemented those mandates, and that people are very, very sick from having to take those 2 shots, and that people might not be working because of that, not because they're lazy, okay? And truth is, until we get the federal government in there being conservative and actually fixing the problems that are continuing to snowball the issues in each province, I'm not sure how much the premiers can get done, okay? But I sure shit know that people like Doug Ford want things like mines and, foresting and all of those things that keep Northern Ontario going. And that's why I had to vote for him. He didn't get a single fucking seat in Northern Ontario except for Thunder Bay. But, I hope the left learns a lesson from this, because we do need more representation of different voices in there. Okay, it can't just be one. Anyways, guys, what do you think about Doug Ford's win? Do you think it was because people are afraid of NDP, or because you think that people love Doug Ford, or a bit of both? Let me know in the comments, and you guys have an incredible weekend.